that's on the call. We do have someone on our staff who is willing and able to do that. And we want everyone to be able to fully participate. So if that is something that's needed, please let us know. I'm actually going to launch a poll asking that. So right now, this is also a good way for me to test out the polling system here. You should see something on your screen that's asking if you're a Spanish speaker, if you need translation. So if you could just respond to that. All right, looks like everyone's voting here. Okay, so it looks like we didn't get any yeses. I'll leave it up there for one more second just in case. Okay, perfect. All right, so just so you guys can see those results, is everyone seeing that?
Yep.
Yes.
Perfect. Okay. So it looks like that no one is requesting Spanish translation. So I'm just going to continue speaking in English. But if at any time you need something repeated, please let me know. And you know, we want to make sure everyone understands what's happening there. So, all right. Just going over our agenda for tonight's meeting real quick. I'm going to do a few introductions, go over what our intentions and goals are for this meeting tonight. We will discuss the Better Block event. Thanks, Keith, for mentioning that. And then we'll do some more polling with you guys to help us rank and track what your priorities are for a community space. And then towards the end, we'll open it up for more, you know, one-to-one discussions, and people can ask specific questions and get maybe into some more of the details of this conversation. And this will be posted again later, but just to throw it up there right now, if you think you might want to get updates from our staff on the progress of this community space project, please email me and I will add you to a list. And we will periodically send out updates as we get them. My email address is kbennett@westdallaswi.gov. And just in case anyone here is new to Zoom, you know, like in all community meetings, we first and foremost ask that everyone just be thoughtful and respectful and conscientious of everyone else's ideas and thoughts. If you would like to ask questions or make comments in the middle of a presentation portion, please use the chat box, and Sean of our staff will be monitoring that and interjecting as needed. And if you would like to say something, we ask that you use the raise hand feature, which if you, on your toolbar, you click on participants, and then a second window will pop up and you can click raise hand in the lower right hand corner. So just some quick housekeeping stuff there. All right, so first I want to say thank you to Mayor Devine, to Alderperson Vitale and Alderperson Tenorio for supporting this meeting and for being here tonight and helping us get this conversation going. I believe the three of you would like to also make a few remarks. So how about we start with Mayor Devine?
Thanks, Katie, and thanks to everybody on the call. Those of you who are on here, I looked at the participants list and I know some of the name numbers I didn't recognize, but a lot of you are aware of what we attempted and succeeded with last year regarding the Better Block project. And when I'm just looking at this map on my screen right now, there was activity on just about every corner and people out, and it really was, it turned out to be exactly what I think was expected as a showcase of the potential for that area. So obviously then winter came, and I'm sure we were all planning on this pandemic we're all dealing with right now too, but it kind of put a little hiccup in the timing of it. as far as our abilities to get together, and just took a lot of staff time away to work on other projects regarding this COVID situation. So I'm really hoping that we can recapture that momentum and, like was said earlier by Katie and some of the staff, take the concerns and the feedback we got from this project last September, I believe it was, and put it into action, not just make it a plan that doesn't get implemented, and look at the traffic calming, like Keith had mentioned earlier, look at a way to activate that space identified. But we want to have the neighborhood involved and participating and helping us create that vision for this corridor and the improvements around it. So just looking forward to tonight's discussion, and I want to thank everybody for being here.
All right, thanks, Mayor. Alderman Vitale, would you like to go next?
Yes, yeah, thanks, Katie. Thanks to everyone to, of course, provide this meeting. I think it's, I'm sure will be very constructive, in many angles, the Burnham pointing in reference of the encouragement, what I call a revival of the area, because really, like I said early, in my early short talk, was very sad. It's still in somewhat it is, but that's the reason we're here. That we want to see tomorrow, in the near future, for us to have some enhancements in the neighborhood, to get more interest business persons, which will kind of bring the area more vitals, not going down the way it have been for the last say 20 some years. It was a big downturns. So the mayor, I think, it covered just as much, just as well. So I believe I'm done, at this point, thank you.
Thank you. And finally, Alderperson Tenorio.
Thank you, Katie, and thank you for everyone on the call. I just want to quick introduce myself to everyone. So my name is Angelito Tenorio. I'm the newly elected alderman here in District 1. I'm co-alder with Vince. My parents, they immigrated from the Philippines. They came to West Dallas because our city is full of opportunity. And that's why I ran for office, to make West Dallas the best it can be for everyone. And with this meeting this evening, I think this is really cool opportunity for us to make our district better and to provide a community space for people to get involved. And I really love this. So thank you so much. And let me know if you have any questions or further inquiries.
Awesome, thanks. And so, of course, we also should probably say some thanks. I think the mayor covered this a little, but to our neighborhood associations that helped spread the word about this event tonight. Daisy and Tasha from Liberty Heights, and John and the team at the East Dallas Neighborhood Association. Thank you guys for your work and support. And of course, thank you to all the community members that are here participating tonight. The whole point of this meeting is to get your input, and so without you, there'd be no real purpose for this. So thank you for being here and showing up for your community. It's a really great thing to see today. And what we are here to talk about is this vacant lot on Burnham between 61st and 60th Street. And the goal for today is really just to get a sense of what it is that the people in the neighborhood would like to see at this location. What's important to you? What do you want this space to look like? What do you want it to feel like? It's going to be you and your families that are going to be in this space. And so we want to make sure that as the design is being created, your input and your needs are being not just being considered, but are actually the basis for that design. So we will do some polling questions to try and get a sense of what those priorities are. But before we do that, I would also like to get a sense about who's actually in the room tonight. And so we have a few poll questions about all of you. Let's see if I can pull these up here. And you should see them now.
So Katie, do you want all of us to fill this out or just people in the neighborhood?
You can fill them out if you want.
Okay.
I think an important piece, especially about if you have children at home, or if you don't have children at home, is to think about, maybe you do have young children or maybe you have older children, but not just thinking about what it is that your own family needs, but what does your community need as well. And so kind of trying to have both of those perspectives at the same time. But I think it's helpful to see who's here and kind of see where everyone's coming from. All right, so it looks like most people have voted. So I'm going to go ahead and end this poll. Is anyone still working on it? All right. And let's see what people said. All right, so it looks like the majority of people are 1 to 5 years. Nice. Most have young children that they were homeschooling or do not have any kids, but almost similar numbers in there. Congratulations to all the parents who survived this school year, by the way. Great job. And it looks like a favorite restaurant, Taqueria Buena Vista and Al Pastor were at a close tie, but Taqueria came out on top. So they're both 2 of my favorite restaurants in the city. So glad to see everyone agrees with that. Okay. So yeah. Oh, that's the slide that was supposed to be up during that polling session. So we think you guys are great. And we are going to review the Better Block event that took place last September, and during which the vacant lot was actually transformed into a community space. And just out of curiosity, we want to know how many of you attended that event last September. All right, looks like we got about most of the votes in here. So close this. And it looks like a majority of people actually were at the event last September. That's really great to see. I'm glad you guys got to experience what this space looked and felt like. But for those of you who were not there, we will also be going over what happened so you can get a good look at it. So I think one of the really cool things about this event that happened last September is that it was really a community and volunteer-led project. We had volunteers out in the streets painting bike lanes, and these bike lanes were intended to show that there's a space to protect bicyclists in this neighborhood. And also it helps protect pedestrians as well, because it creates some additional space between the traffic and people. Volunteers also help paint these really cool, colorful bump outs. And bump outs are really good for safety at busy intersections. They help to reduce the amount of distance that people have to walk across crosswalks. It makes pedestrians more visible. It draws attention to that intersection, so cars tend to slow down a little bit. And as you can see, there are some tables and chairs out there, so it can actually create its own public space within those bump outs. And, you know, in this case, it just looks really awesome, which I think every neighborhood wants something that looks cool like this. There was also pedestrian lighting added to the area. Pedestrian lighting is really important for bringing the street down to a human level. And it creates this unique sense of space that you know when you've stepped in and out of it. You know when you're in the Burnham Pointe neighborhood because this lighting is here. It makes people feel safer. It improves visibility, so people actually are safer from cars and traffic. And again, it just looks really nice. There was outdoor cafe seating installed and planters placed at the corners. These really just help to enhance the street, to bring some life to the area, to get people out and chatting with one another. And then in this case, the planters, you know, serve to provide some green space that is often lacking in more urban areas. That's often, you know, often a lot of just concrete. And here they were acting as a buffer as well, being placed strategically at the corners from traffic and cars making turns there. There were musicians and pop-up vendors and just people all over the street doing really fun and cool stuff. And you can see everyone is having a great time. And then looking specifically at the lot that we're going to talk about tonight, this was transformed into a community gathering space. And, you know, it really is about the details in this type of project. And there's so many really great elements that make this a cool space that I just want to walk through with you guys real quick as well. So to start, they constructed this really cool entryway and delineated the space with a small wooden fence. There were a variety of seating options. So there were picnic tables, but then you can see there's also these wooden structures that are built that people could sit on and hang out around. And those were built by children and adults and mayors. There were food trucks on site, which of course everyone is a big fan of. And the children's play area was a really, really cool feature at this event. It was more of this natural playscape, which is, you know, obviously very different than a traditional playscape. But as you can see, the kids were loving it and having a great time, and it got lots of use. There was also a stage and dance area, performance area that was heavily used, as you can see. And again, the lighting really helps to create that sense of place here. And this super cool custom bike rack from Unit Drop Forge, which I believe is still on the site, was made just specifically for this event. So all of the things that were done as part of this Better Block event were temporary. You may have noticed that all of the beautiful paint and bike lanes have since washed away. But that was intentional. It was done as a temporary activity to show the neighborhood what can be done and how simple changes can really have a big impact on your neighborhood. And so, you know, moving forward, we want to make this a more permanent improvement, but we want to understand what it is that you want from that space. So what we did here is just one version of, you know, an infinite number of versions that could be completed. And so this next part here is going to be us asking you to make some calls about what you prioritize in terms of different park elements. We're gonna give a series of elements and ask you to rank them as a very high priority, a medium priority, a low priority, or a very low priority. And I will preface it by saying that I understand that all park elements are really great and would love to have all the things, but this is a pretty small space, so we may have to be making some choices and some decisions here. So I really encourage you to think about what it is that you prioritize and what you want to see in this space as you're answering these questions. All right, so the poll should be up. It is 10 questions, so please, take your time. They're all the same format though, so. And here we're asking you to rank your priority in terms of children's play equipment, seating areas, lighting, a stage and performance area, having space available for food trucks, having fencing or screening placed in the park, trees and other landscaping, having a pergola or some other sort of covered structure to sit under, public art, community garden space. I believe those are all the topics that we're asking about. And if you have other elements that you think are super important that we haven't listed or included in this poll, please feel free to use the chat option to enter those things and give some feedback that way. All right, looks like votes are still coming in, so I'll give people another 30 seconds or so here. All right, it looks like most people have voted. Oh, maybe someone needs more time. I have a comment that the potential for a beer garden could encourage pedestrian traffic and activity in the area. Yeah, that's a great idea. Okay, I'm gonna end this poll. Does anyone need more time? No, okay. All right, so we can, let's see. Are you guys seeing these results with me now? So play equipment. Oh, okay, good. Got the most votes for medium priority, but I guess high and very high combined. Let's see. Seating is important. Lighting is a high priority. Stage seems to be a little less of a priority. Food truck, pretty high rankings here. Fencing, sort of middle ground. Let's see. Trees and landscaping is high priority. Pergola seems pretty middle ground. Public art looks pretty important to people. It's nice to see. Keith celebrating. And community garden seems relatively high, yeah. Okay, so we'll take a look at those some more as staff and you know, try to see what really came out on top there. And we have one more poll question that sort of sums up all of those things that we just talked about and went over. And really here we're asking you to, if you had to pick your top 5 elements, which 5 would you pick? Oh, so far food trucks, I think, is coming in hot. All right, just give a few more seconds here for people to get their answers in. All right. And let's see what we got here. It looks like lighting, seating, space for food trucks, public art, and landscaping came out on top. So that's great.
Can we wait on the end for responding, or how you handle it?
Yeah, I think so. This was my last poll.
Okay.
And so I think, yeah, now is a great time to open it up if people want to, if you have specific questions, if there's a specific topic you want to discuss or explore a little further, we can do that.
Yeah, I myself, of course, this is Vincent Vitale, one the alderman representing the area. I think the seating area, and many other activities, I believe the business places in the area, they could utilize, say, a restaurant or like Keith, they could utilize just as well by having sitting area, I think, for somebody to have a presentation or a little show. I believe it's something. I'm not opposing a children playground, but the fact is that the size of the lot is not that big, to accommodate something like that. So we do have a Liberty Heights, which does provide a good service. The middle-aged kids and young kids, So that's what I thought. To me, that corner would be more feasible for events. If a business, of course, they have to get a permit, to utilize the space. That's, to me, that's the way to do it. Not somebody just walks in there and just doing whatever you feel like to do. You have to be specific on the promotion of the site, so if it's a restaurant, I mean, like I say, anything within the area, somebody wants to provide the service, I think it'd be a great area to promote the neighborhood, I mean, like I said, in the summertime, it would be a great thing, to people to spend time there and just talking, and will be something achievable, I believe, for the neighborhood, so.
Mhm.
That's all I have at this time, Katie. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. All right, looks like Daisy has her hand raised. So Daisy, you want to go ahead?
Yeah, can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Great. So I was one of the original organizers that worked really closely with Sean and the entire team from Better Block. And I think that the way that the setup that we had last September really catered to, like, it was done meaningful to really address the need of the neighborhood. So we have growing families with younger kids, and we also have a need of expanding our, desire to have different foods available in our neighborhood. I really like the way that we broke it down. The setup worked really well. I like the fact that we had live music. I like the food truck component, and the natural playground setup didn't really take that much time, and it's different than a regular playground. So for
Mhm.
those of us who were there last year, I think we can say that we appreciated that the setup allowed for a lot of creativity for kids to be able to really engage in different ways compared
Mhm.
to a regular playground. So I just wanted to kind of put that out there, because I think that if we are meaningful in how we're really structuring that space, we could really do a lot. Not all of it, but we could definitely do a lot.
Yeah, great. That's really good input. And also a comment supported, what you were saying that the nice thing about having even a really small play area is that children can play while their parents are eating. Thanks, Daisy. Looks like Tiffany has her hand raised. Tiffany, you want to go ahead?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, so I live about 3 blocks away, and I was amazed how quickly everything was set up last year. I really liked the pedestrian lane that was blocked off, because that intersection, I will say daily, there's almost an accident. It's very congested. There's a lot of traffic, and there's a lot of traffic with those restaurants and just going through the intersection. So I was amazed when I left for work that day and I came home and I couldn't believe like everything that was set up within like 7 hours. I really liked how they took the chalk and they did the pedestrian, they kind of blocked it off so cars had that one lane, and I just thought that was really nice. I wish it was like that all the time, but it's just a very busy intersection, so we need to keep in mind of the traffic and the people that we have in the area. But I thought it was a really nice setup last year, so if we can stay with that or add some things, that would be great.
Yeah, and I should add, I haven't mentioned it yet, but there is a plan to do some of those street improvements more permanently,
Okay.
in terms of adding bump outs and that sort of thing, and hopefully to continue it in that really colorful manner that was so pretty. And so, there are some engineering things that need to be worked through. We need to make sure it's really, that version was just done by volunteers. So there are improvements that need to be made in making that a more permanent feature. And we are working with our engineering department to get that plan down. But that will be separate from, this park project. It all kind of happened together, but we, in terms of this meeting and the feedback and stuff, we want to focus on this particular lot.
So when exactly, I'm sorry, I joined late. When exactly are you guys, is this going to be just for a day, or is this going to be for a couple days, or what is the plan of when this is going to take place?
Sure. So actually, maybe now is a good time to go to this next slide here. We do want it to be we are intending this to be a permanent improvement. So the Better Block event was just a temporary exercise. But it was really to inspire a more permanent change. And so that's what this meeting is about today, to try and get a design concept from you guys about what's important to you. We are in the process of hiring a designer and plan to have that person on in mid-July. We then hope that their design will be complete about mid-August, and that then we can put out an RFP for contractors to actually come in and do the work. Our goal, and we really, our fingers crossed, we are aiming to have it done by this year. But as anyone who's ever done any sort of construction project knows, things do come up. We might dig into the site and find issues there, or the weather might just be terrible. And so, worst case scenario would be spring of 2021, but really our goal is to get this project up and going along with the street improvements by the end of this year. Oh, and it looks like a few people have raised their hands, so let me just open that up real quick. Let's see. It's hard for me to tell whose hand is raised. So if you want to add something, feel free to unmute yourself, and we'll just try and balance this out ourselves here.
Katie, it looks like Tiffany has her hand raised. So Tiffany, if you would like
I
to.
think she spoke.
Okay, and then Caleb.
Yeah, hi. So my wife and I just moved to the neighborhood in October. We were at the event. It was really awesome to see so much pedestrian traffic. We just had a daughter in April. We go for a lot of walks. And so answering the poll questions in a vacuum, we were answering like, it's not safe for a playground there because of the amount of traffic. If there were traffic calming measures taken in the area, then it's different. But like going for walks, 60th Street is not a fun or nice street to walk down. Burnham is not a fun or nice street to walk down. So we're always using adjacent streets. But I think anything like, and it's great to hear that there's street improvements planned. But yeah, I think that the biggest thing that we saw or experienced was like that traffic calming was so important and integral to getting people to feel safe and use that space. And so doing something like that moving forward will, I think, open up the opportunities for not just like this lot that we're talking about, but the area as a whole.
Yeah, great. That's a really good point. And yeah, I mean, we obviously, if we're going to be putting any sort of playground equipment, we want it to be as safe as possible for the families that are visiting there. So,
Katie.
hi, Daisy.
So do we have an update on that vacant property next to the lot that we're referring to? So that's one question. And then how would parking play a factor here? I know the parking lot next to the actual empty lot is owned by Burnham. So do we have any sort of partnership with Carol, the owner of Burnham, in regards to this as we're moving forward with planning?
Sean, do you have an update on that neighboring property?
Daisy, are you referring to the duplex next door?
Yes.
I don't have an update on the duplex. We know it was purchased 6 to 9 months ago. We have not reached out to the duplex at this point. We don't have, currently have designated funds to be able to, do anything too aggressively, in that regard, but certainly we're keeping our eyes on it. And as far as the Burnham Bowl parking lot, that's actually across the street from Burnham Bowl and adjacent to this, we have talked to the owner of Burnham Bowl. We'll continue to do that, and we're hoping to, have kind of some type of shared agreement in how we can use it. We just want to, at this point, kind of want to focus the funds on the gravel lot because it's something that we control and, can get things going in for the neighborhood quickly. And then, yeah, it'd be great if we could eventually expand it. We're thinking,
I guess my question, Sean, is that if that property is next to the lot that we're referring to, if it becomes a residential property, meaning if it's occupied by the owners instead of becoming a business, then are we going to have any issues with the work we're trying to do in that empty lot? I guess I don't know who bought the property, so that's why I'm asking, just trying to make sure that we're not going to run into any issues with that.
right, it's just being used as it has been in the past as residential. And so we may have to just, do certain screening and things of that nature if it remains in that use. It is zoned commercially. And so, long range, maybe things will change. So, we do want to be respectful of, obviously, of the immediate neighbors and things of that nature, but at the same time, it is in our long range land use plan for a commercial use. And is zoned commercially and such. So, certainly we will reach out to them as this, project starts in the design stages.
Okay. And maybe other people have more questions, but I have another question.
Go ahead.
Is it okay if I ask?
Yep.
Okay. So is this lot then going to be run and maintained by the city, or is our hope to try to get a private business to take some sort of ownership of the lots? I know right now it's owned by the city, but if we're looking at the model that we're looking at, would this become similar to like the public market where there's a committee that's sort of helping facilitate the coordination of that and the city still runs that? Or what is the long-term vision of how this lot would run based on the feedback we're giving?
So it sounds like there's a lot of interest in using it as like a food truck, partially type of use, or pop-up types of uses at it. So there are many different models, that we could go down in that regard. We've talked to some of the local restaurants that might be interested in, parking food trucks there somewhat regularly. We've already sort of just begun those general talks just to get a feel for if anybody would be interested in doing that. We have visited other similar kind of uses. There are just all kinds of different models out there. The most basic thing is that the city just owns it and allows the food trucks on the site. Certainly we can engage, the neighborhood and work with them as well. Everything's kind of open at this point, so we want the neighborhood to be involved. That that is important to us.
Thanks, Sean.
Okay, well, so this has been really useful and informative, and I guess, I don't want to close things out just yet. If anyone has any additional, things that they'd like to see in the park that they want to maybe share, either right now, or feel free to email me with more detailed thoughts if you feel more comfortable, communicating in that format. And, if you have some examples of places that you think are really great that you think we should model off of, or anything like that, please let us know and share that with us, either again now or in an email or a phone call. Let's see, I think someone else raised their hand.
So this is Angelito.
Okay.
Something I've really been thinking about is like, how can we make West Dallas greener, especially in our district? So when I was like looking at the different priorities, the options that you listed, I'd be a big fan of like bringing in plants and trees.
Okay.
I know it's with a smaller location, smaller area in Burnham Pointe, but I think like the possibility of a community garden would be really cool too, something that people can access. And then public art is really important too. I think that'd be a cool way to express the personality of our community as well.
Kitty?
Yeah, I think that really came through in some of the responses too. So it's really good information. If someone did ask if there's plans to have bike lanes in the permanent plan, and yes, there are. Right, John?
Yes, we are looking at, yeah, doing bike lanes. Concept currently being looked at is to have them a similar setup to what we had during the Better Block. They might be extended a little bit further down Burnham than what they were for Better Block. We are looking at trying that sort of where the bike lane is right up to the curb, and then you park on the outside of the bike lane. The similar setup that we had for Better Block as well. It'll be our first time doing that in West Dallas. It is sort of the regularly now kind of newer accepted practice for bike lanes. But it'd be our first in West Dallas. So yes, we are looking at that.
Thanks. It looks like Kara has her hand raised.
Actually, it's Tara. It's me.
Oh.
So to echo everyone else's comments, I certainly like a lot of the ideas about traffic calming in that area. We've been here 11 years, and that intersection is, I think it was spoken to before, but it's a lot of, I've seen a lot of accidents there. So obviously the idea of traffic calming and bike lanes, green space, higher pedestrian traffic, I think would do a lot to address some of that. And I know we're speaking specifically about the lot itself, but I just had one question in regards to the property. So that would be on the southeast corner. I recently saw it's across the street from Las Palmas and across the street from the convenience store. I saw some activity there, painting and renovating. What's the plans for that property?
Sean, do you know that? Or maybe, I think Steve may be on the line. He might.
Yeah, Steve, if Steve's available, he might be able to, he might know what's going on there.
I only asked just because it's sort of relevant to the idea of safety and increasing pedestrian traffic in that area, because I know that at one time used to be a bar and had a lot of problems. So understanding clearly what the plans are for that place could help us move forward with new plans.
Sure.
Yeah, Kitty,
Oh.
or Sean, yeah. I have, I mean, I know what's going on in that corner, of course. We had an application for a new person to manage a bar. You know, that's the reason you see some of the improvements there to give the corner some lift. You know, so but really what's happening right now, there won't be bars that we experience in the past. And I think this would be more peaceable for the corner. You know, I mean, it won't be anything like did happen before. Because I'm really familiar, and I agree with you. We had a lot of police participation, so I call it on that corner. You know,
Putting it nicely.
so there's a new agent, I believe. Is going to have, I think, some country western music, you know. It'd be more something more oriented to older people, you know. So as far as I know, that's how he came forward, you know. And that's where we, you know, he got approved to open up the establishment. It's been vacant now for quite a while, and it's been really look like a corner of, I call it tore down structure from the Second World War, you know. So the fact that is, I'm glad somebody, I'm not thrilled about it, you know, to have a tavern on that corner, but I believe this will be more an old fashionable operator, you know. So I hope it will, based on his statements that he made, you know, I mean, we were happy about it. So I wish him the best, because if something happens, his license will be revoked. You know, I don't think they're going to play around. You know, but at least he's doing something to make the austerity of the building on the outside look a lot better. You know, I mean, that's all we need.
Sure. Okay. Thank you.
A few comments here. Someone said that the bar will be opening in July. And Steve added that for Bears fans, it's called the Bar. Another question that came through is how far are the protected bike lanes planned to extend from the Burnham and 60th intersection? And I don't think we have that level of detail yet. We are still working on creating those plans. Sean, I don't know if you have a general concept.
We don't know exactly yet. You know, part of it is we only have so much money to spend and things of that nature. So our priority is at the corner and trying to make it safer and slowing traffic down so people feel comfortable. And then sort of just visualize, you know, us spending money. That's where, you know, we're going to spend the most money, and then, you know, we'll see what we have left, and we're going to extend that out as much as we can. And that's going to be in the form of a protected bike lane, most likely.
Oh,
A
Kim is
few, a few blocks, but we're not sure.
Thanks.
I have a quick question or comment. Have we been soliciting or engaging businesses on Burnham about this? I'm only seeing really the owner from the barber shop. And other than that, I'm not sure if there's any other businesses in the area that are joining this call. I'm really intrigued to hear what they think about all the different permanent ideas we're trying to come up with. Have we heard from them at all?
Daisy, this is kind of our main initial meeting to discuss, you know, the changes that could take place. We will certainly, you know, further engage them. I know Keith from Muse 33 is also on this call.
Oh, is that what? Okay, I'm sorry.
Yep, no, that's okay. And so, yeah, we will certainly engage the business community as well. There's sort of another phase of this that, you know, that's going to be, you know, business related and incentives and things of that nature. But yep.
I think the reason I bring that up too is, you know, like many of the neighbors that are here, we walk that strip, we walk that area all the time. And I mean, and Keith's business is probably one of the ones that you see stand out the most because he is doing actively different things that is engaging the community. We're still seeing a lot of vacant spaces in that area. And so, you know, I'm also interested in seeing how we can also bring different businesses to that area as we're kind of thinking about this lot, what the impact that it would actually have in this whole Burnham Pointe area.
We are on the same page there, and that is sort of the you know, we've got the gravel lot, we've got the intersection, and then the third thing we need to do is, you know, engage the businesses and the business, really the property owners, and incentivize them to, you know, put some money in and go out and you know, reach out for some tenants and tenant improvements. So that is something we will be pursuing, and that is one element where the COVID thing really did hit us hard. Is we had to sort of focus on trying to keep our existing businesses going, and now I think, you know, we're still doing that, but we can hopefully, you know, start moving forward with businesses in Burnham Pointe as well.
Thanks.
All right, are there any other questions or comments that anyone would like to share before we wrap up this meeting tonight?
Kitty, before we wrap up, I mean, I was not going to address anything anymore, but I'm really familiar with when Antigua was down on Burnham. She worked so hard. Like I said, I hope now the trend will change, but she tried to get all the businesses from that stretch to come together, you know, to make things improve for Burnham Pointing area, you know. But it seemed like we only had we had a couple meetings, and we always had a few people come forward, you know. Patrick Schloss was there just as well, you know, and but she tried very hard to get the business more open to come forward to make things happen on Burnham Pointe. So I hope, I mean, now at this point, I hope the way things are going will be succeeding, and or be successful, Thank you.
I think it'll be really great as we are continue to really work on development in that area, to really work about on the idea of creating a neighborhood association. Liberty Heights Park Neighborhood Association only goes up to Mitchell. So there is definitely an opportunity to create another neighborhood association that can really cover this radius in this area. So for those of you that live in that area, closer to the lot that we're referring to, we definitely want to be able to work with you, partner with you to really create the possibility of another neighborhood association that can be just our neighboring association as well. So that's another thing that I'm hoping that can come out of this as well.
Yeah, that's a really great idea. Someone asked, how can we stay engaged in the conversation? Is there another call planned? So I'll put my email address back up on the screen here again. And like I said, please feel free to send me an email and I will add you to a list where we'll be sending out regular updates as this project moves forward. And that will include, once we have some draft concepts in our hands, sharing those and getting some feedback. We don't have another call planned at this time, but if that's something that everyone is interested in and would like to have a follow-up, we can certainly plan to do that later, later this summer.
Hey, Katie.
Yep, sorry, I was just gonna say, and the mayor had his hand raised, so
I did.
pass
I
it
thought
over
I
to him.
had it and then I lowered it. I just wanted to kind of ask generally, is there anything we're missing that you thought you might get to on this call that the city hasn't touched on? I know I was curious a little bit about the businesses too, because I tried to stop at the sub shop last week and didn't know that they hadn't reopened yet. And I don't know the status of La Costeña, if they're open or if I know they have a food truck as well, but you might need to get I'm sorry?
The food truck is open, but they have it in the south side.
Yeah, but the restaurant is not, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so maybe I don't know. I still think it'd be fun to get some more businesses along that strip that would be more of destinations, and I still I always advocate for coffee shops, things like that would just give people another reason to walk around that area, stroll through the neighborhoods, hopefully with the addition of some traffic calming and bike lanes and more pedestrian friendly amenities that could complement the coffee shop as well, and whatever else might go in there. We've got some fellow caffeine friends I can see.
That's why I like you.
We need a coffee shop around here. We
Yeah.
desperately need one.
I will continuously say that we are grossly under-caffeinated in this community.
So it looks like someone else has raised their hand, although the username is just iPhone, so I apologize. iPhone, you know who you are. Feel free to.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, hi. I was just wondering, I unfortunately wasn't able to make it to the event, but I saw the report that came out afterwards, and I was just kind of wondering, for the businesses that were there and the organizations that were involved, volunteering, participating, I saw that there was a lot of that going on with the community support. And so I was wondering, was there like a direct outcome there? Like, did any of those partners express interest in the lot, or what happened with that?
So I can say, one of the restaurants in the area, has expressed interest in, bringing food trucks out to the lot. Different businesses have expressed, different, I know Keith is on this call and he has a lot of great ideas. So we're hoping to work with him on some creative ideas with Keith owns Muse 33 on 59th and Burnham, the art gallery. You know, we've even heard from the little convenience store on the corner in regards to doing some certain things there. I think it's just a matter of you know, focusing and continuing to push in those areas. I don't know, Mayor, if I'm missing anything on those. We did have a little pop-up coffee shop out there, you know, which would be great to recruit to the area. You know, things of things of that nature I think about.
Saw in the comments, somebody mentioned, Tasha mentioned an ice cream shop too, custard shop in the area.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, Sean, I think that's everything I remember from last fall.
Just to follow up on that, I'm wondering then, have there been any discussions on what happens with the lot over the winter months? Like, has there been any talk about, you know, what that space could be reconceived for during that time?
You know, I don't think we've talked in detail too much on that, but I think that's a really great point to bring up when we meet with our designer to really talk about how this space can be used, not just in summer months, but can really be a year-round space, and what types of things we can incorporate there that would allow that to be possible. So yeah, thanks for that.
So are we consider, I know that part of your research consisted of going to Milwaukee and visiting Zocalo, which is a well-known food truck park in Milwaukee. And the way that they have it is that it's year round, to my understanding, because they actually do have the space for people to basically eat during, you know, the winter, or if they want to eat indoors. How we consider that possibility for that lot, if we want to make an actual sitting area that is actually in a building?
So we have explored that concept for the space, or potentially another space in the city. You know, I think what our concern from the city is that we wouldn't necessarily want to be the operators of something like that. And so the trick is really finding the right person and the right community member and business owner that wants to invest in that type of project. You know, and maybe that could be done in some sort of partnership with the city. But, you know, we really just have to figure out how to make that level of resources available to keep that something like that up and running. But we did do a site visit there and got a lot of really good information. And, you know, we've had some people who have shown a little bit of interest in maybe pursuing something along those lines, but nothing so far has come to, you know, fruition on that. But you know, that's something that we'd love to see happen in the long run. And, you know, as more investment is made in this community, in this neighborhood, then, you know, the hope is that there'd be a time and place for that. So I don't know, Sean or Mayor, you want to add anything to that?
I mean, it's good to have I don't know, I want to say a dream, a long range vision, right? And that could be really cool to have an indoor, you know, option in the winter, taking advantage of maybe one of the buildings in the area or something of that nature. We've definitely looked at that. It's quite costly, and but it's good to have that vision for sure.
Thanks.
Sorry, I didn't respond. I was typing in the chat. What was the question, Katie?
Just if you had anything to add about the vision of having a food truck park.
Oh, I don't think so. I mean, it's good to dream big. It's good to aim big, but, you know, I know it's going to be slow. After the event, you know, last fall, a fair number of people were like, well, now what? You know, that was cool, but all that's left there is a pile of logs. And, you know, I want to, like I said in the beginning, I want to recapture the momentum, and I want to I'd love to activate that lot, but I'd also love to activate that corridor in both directions on 60th and Burnham. And, you know, it's easy to say what you'd like to see there, but then it's the challenge of getting what you would like to see there to actually take a serious look there and end up there. And, you know, we can offer some types of incentives and things like that for businesses to come here. But, you know, we also need ambassadors and cheerleaders and just input from everybody that lives in the neighborhood as well. So that's a call to action.
Thank you
I
for
don't
that.
like to speak for everyone in my team here, but I think that it goes without saying that you have the support from Liberty Heights Park Neighborhood Association. So we're committed. I have a lot of neighbors that really care about improving and working on just making this space richer. So we're ready with what you need us to really help with, you know, to continue to really see this neighborhood grow.
All right, we have another hand raised from an iPhone user.
I just had one last comment as I was kind of taking everything in. And I think that, you know, thinking about all the poll responses and some of the things that people wanted, that the group wanted, and the idea that it's a smaller space, I think that one thing that could be really impactful is having the concept of a food truck is something that is there temporarily and leaves. So it can be like continuously installed and change and transform over time. And I think that thinking about maybe some of those types of elements could be really interesting to see the way that the West Allis community comes out, because I think that we have a lot of really special local businesses here that could use that as an opportunity to showcase themselves.
Yeah, thank you.
I saw
Yeah,
that.
I think having a space
Sorry.
that is multifunctional and transformative over time and season is important and seems to be important to people on this call. So thank you for that. Sorry, what was that, Mayor?
Oh, that's fine. I saw a comment in the chat about priority to local food trucks if we were going to have food trucks there. And I'm not sure how I feel about that, because part of me thinks like Taqueria had their food truck at the event, but they're also right across the street. So if, you know, say Double B's, I mean, obviously they can be there. I just don't know if we'd prioritize them, or would we want to bring in trucks from businesses that are not currently in the community to kind of bolster the diversity of the offerings in that area, where, you know, if you have Las Palmas, you have El Pastor, you have Taqueria, do you want, you know, another Latino food offering, or do you want to try to get in like a pop-up coffee or coffee food truck, or something that would be a complement rather than a duplicate? That's just my thought. I don't know if I have a strong feeling either way.
Okay, well, any other comments or last thoughts, questions for us?
Yeah, I'd like to give you my last questions, Kitty, before we
Go for
close. You know, I totally agree with the mayor's what he states tonight, you know, and then again, the lot, I believe, should be controlled or owned by the city. To me, that's one thing that I believe the city should continue to own it. Or if anything comes up in the future, I have no idea if it's going to be a bigger developments, whatever the questions will be for us, you know, in the future, you know. But to me, all the I said early that all the food trucks or coffee trucks, or whatever, ice cream trucks, they all should have a permit to utilize the site. I mean, and I believe they can have a couple, I don't know how many trucks, food trucks or ice cream truck or coffee truck could be there at the same time, maybe 2 or 3, but they all should have a permit and not just be able to come in, you know, as a police. Maybe should have a scheduled days for to give maybe someone other business the opportunity if they want to be there, you know, not to sustain the same person at this, you know, for the entirety of the summer, you know. So I think we should be selective to give somebody else a chance just as well, you know, during the warm summer, you know. So that's what I feel. And again, we should have a full control of the site, you know, not because still to me that's the best way to do it at this point. The future, we don't really know at this time, you know. Thank you.
Thanks for that. And yeah, and there's several different models out there of how we could operate that. So we'll definitely have those discussions a little more in depth as that gets closer.
I know that this was mainly about that lot over there, but like I had mentioned earlier, if and somebody else had mentioned it too, I think it was you, Sean, that if we could maybe get in touch with the other property owners over here, because there's literally like 3 empty spaces that's been empty since I've been here. I've been here for a little over 3 years. And I think that with the right businesses, that'll definitely breathe some life into the area, because it's pretty dark. It's a pretty dark area. You know, nobody really wants to walk over here at night too much. So yeah, I think that if possible, if we could somehow get in contact with the other property owners to fill in these spots, I think that'll work out. I know it was really about that other lot, but just want to throw that in there.
Keith, I think a lot of it is also perception. I tend to walk really late at night in that area quite often, and I have never felt unsafe. So I think part of the issue is that we need to really work on also the perception that people have about the area. So I think that the more we are able to bring different businesses and more activities to really engage people to walk around this area, we will probably, you know, just see more of that pedestrian movement versus cars. Because right now I think it's such a busy intersection. But I'm telling you that I have never really felt unsafe walking in that area, and I have been there by myself as late as 9 o'clock.
Well, that's pretty good. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
You feel
so we just gotta
braver than me. I understand though. I understand.
Okay, well, if there are no other comments, I think we can wrap this up. I really want to say thank you again to everyone for your comments. This has been a really, really great discussion, very informative. And please email me and get on the list for project updates, and I will reach out to all of you shortly. So thanks again, everyone, for being here and for participating.
Thank you, Kate. Sean.
Everybody, appreciate it.
Thank you, everyone.
I'll come see you, Keith. I'll come see you.
Oh yeah, yeah. I'll email you, Vince. I'll email you. I want you to come by as soon as you can, man.
I will.
As soon as you can. All right.
Yeah, send me an address. Maybe I get lost. You never know, you know.
Everyone, please email Katie your contact information. I just want to get that emphasized.
Okay. Yeah.
Thanks, Sean.
All right, see you guys later.
Oh, Daisy, before I go, I couldn't forget when I came, when you guys were doing the cleanup. First thing you did, you saw me last year at the Burnham Pointe, right on 60th. He said, Vince, it is some work for you here. So he gave him a big full of garbage. Remember that?
Yep, I will always give you work to do, Vince. So.
I think I throw that in before we close, you know. Right, Mayor? What do you think about that? She gave me a bag of full of garbage, you know?
Nope,
I will
nope,
also give you the part if anyone would do their part.
no
Okay.
comment, Vince, no comment.
No comment. I'm just kidding, you know. Okay,
Thanks
All
again,
right. Have a
Good
good night,
seeing you.
everyone.
Take
All
care.
right.
You
take
all
care.
take care.